young man turns up at the door of the house of a young lady. He knocks on the door, and as soon as she answers the door, he says, "Quick, get in." She looks out on the road and there's his car and the motor's running, and she's going to have some questions. And I think these questions are going to make her trip either a possibility or not a possibility. And if it's a possibility, getting the answers to these questions are going to make her trip far more enjoyable. She'll have questions like, how long are we going for? Or what should I bring? What should I wear? How should I dress? And in answering these kinds of questions, at least these kinds of questions, and if she's favourable, the trip is going to be far more enjoyable. I think marriage is like a journey. In fact, marriage is like a journey that's got a whole set of questions that you need to ask and get some good answers to before you start on it. And if you do, you get the right answers, your marriage can be far more enjoyable than if you don't. Most marriages fail for three general reasons. The three broad reasons include a communication breakdown, a breach of trust, marital infidelity, and a lack of preparation. And by far, the biggest one is the lack of preparation. Marriage preparation is identified as the single biggest factor in marriage breakdown. It involves a couple approaching marriage with all the best intentions, believing that if they love each other, no problem will be too great, and yet they approach their marriage with unrealistic expectations. They approach their marriage not prepared to deal with the foreseeable difficulties that will happen, and because of that they encounter what they feel at the time to be insurmountable difficulties. By preparing well with a trained counsellor, someone who can help you to prepare for marriage well, you'll be better off at approaching your marriage. I'd like to give you some of the advice that if you went to see a marriage counsellor, they would give you. In these videos, I'm going to take you through some of the foreseeable challenges that you're going to have as a married couple, that as a couple just together, you may have already encountered to some measure, but when you get married, things change. If you don't believe me, just go and ask someone who's been married for a little while and ask them whether it's been easy, and generally they'll tell you, no, there were things that came up that I didn't understand, I didn't foresee, and I didn't realise I really needed to work on. So I want to help you work through some of these foreseeable challenges as you prepare for your wedding. First things first, if you have become engaged and you've decided to get married, congratulations. There's a couple of things you're going to have to do that are a little bit on the formal side of things. That includes you're going to have to engage a marriage celebrant. Now you've got two choices here. One, you can go with a civil celebrant, someone who will simply conduct a ceremony and register the documents with the government so that you are, in the eyes of the government, officially married. Your other option is to go with a religious marriage celebrant. You may not be religious yourself, or you may have had a church background or some kind of religious background, and you feel inclined and you would like to be married in a church, and perhaps this will suit you better. Perhaps you are someone who has a religious tradition that you're going to approach your minister to marry you with. So they're the two basic choices, a religious marriage celebrant or a civil celebrant. There is a difference. The difference is a civil celebrant cannot provide you with pre-marriage counselling. It's not in their scope. The religious marriage celebrant is obliged to provide you with pre-marriage counselling according to the values and traditions of the religious tradition that they come from. And so a pastor, a minister, is presumably going to help you to prepare for your marriage, not just your wedding. So the civil celebrant will tailor your wedding exactly how you want, maybe even let you write your vows to a certain extent, and the civil celebrant will give you the wedding that you're after, and you can have that in a park, you can have it in a backyard, you can have it wherever. If you want to get married in a church, probably you're going to have to engage a religious marriage celebrant. And with that will come marriage preparation. Now, I'm a religious marriage celebrant, so I'm going to, in these videos, give you what I would ordinarily give a couple as they prepare for marriage. So here's the first thing. Whoever you choose, whether you choose a civil celebrant or a religious marriage celebrant, and by the way, you could have a civil celebrant marry you, and you could approach a counsellor, a marriage counsellor, a relationships counsellor, or even a pastor. Even if you don't attend a church or you're not religious at all, you may benefit from the value that comes from the wisdom that a pastor has in helping a couple prepare for marriage. But you're going to have to complete a notice of intention, an intention to marry, and that will require that you bring proof of identification, birth certificates, and it also requires that you have set a date and a time and a place for your wedding. And this, I tell couples when they've completed this, that this is now they're officially engaged now. I have seen some engagements that go on and on and on because there's no wedding date that's set. Whenever a couple comes to me for marriage preparation, one of the first things we do is we establish when are you getting married, where are you getting married, and what time are you getting married. And that then helps me to work on a countdown in order to prepare them better for their marriage. So that's the first thing. The other thing to consider is, do you want a really, really good wedding, or do you want a really, really good marriage? And I say or because sometimes the focus is on the wedding day. And I can understand that. It's a special day. In fact, I think it's one of the capital M moments of any couple's life in preparing for their marriage. Their wedding day is such a special thing. But sometimes you need to be reminded that your wedding day could, if it's drawn out, could last 45 minutes just in the ceremony and the proceedings and so on. Add to that the reception and things like that. Or do you want a really, really good marriage that, according to the Australian statistics, the average statistics in the Western world, will average out at about 45 years? And I do put it almost in a this or this category, because I think if you plan for a really good marriage, if you do the preparation for a really good marriage, you'll actually enjoy your wedding day so much more. And I think you actually end up having both. You have a great wedding day and you have a great marriage. You can have a great marriage. So they're the things to consider. When you do that, I'm going to suggest that you both go down to the local bookstore and buy a couple of books. Buy a book each. It's a complimentary set, isn't it? I want to talk about that